Straight up, what do you get guilty of romanticism? What is it? Most of us, it's always about entertainment, or maybe we looked at people a certain way. We didn't necessarily call out stuff, and we got caught romanticism. It's a very slippery slope because sometimes the way things are describing how it's always remembered. So sometimes people get caught out trying to like romanticize the past, even though. So for instance, like when people walk around with that old funny red hat, "Make America Great Again," and you say, "When was it great?" How do we romanticize when people used to be people and used to act a certain way and this and that and the other, and they used the All in the Family song theme with Archie and Edith talk about men were men and women were women, all that. But then again, there were people having issues with racism and separatisms and all kinds of situations. So when was it exactly like this? We romanticize movies and things like that. Now I will say this. Most of these movies now are so over the top vulgar, it's not even funny. It's not even just being it, it's just over the top. Everything is done with more emphasis on just saying something to hear yourself say it. And I can attest to that being a bit more extreme than it was back in the day. There are some things that are a bit done more over the top. Obviously, like when you talk about albums, for instance, you couldn't have like a long-winded album because they had minutes and restrictions and timing. So they put more material out. That doesn't make the record better. That's just the manipulation of the mind. So sometimes, again, but certain things get romanticized. Like we just thought everything was all hunky dory and all, It's amazing how we get into our own box. And you hear people talking about the good old days and this and that. We're all guilty of it. You know, I will admit being guilty of it because I feel that way about music. I can listen to it's a funny story. I was out somewhere. I was listening to Biz Markies, the Vapors, listen to old school and young kids was bopping because it still works, and it does. Big difference than when you're hearing trap music and beats and everything, and it just ain't really going nowhere. Storytelling never ends. So that's why we romanticize because people had to listen. They did have standards. I will say this: you got caught out for biting, you got caught out for being a mark, and you got caught out for talking sideways in your attitude. There is a more of a curve these days. It's like a hacky sack church race. Everybody get a ribbon and a prize for participating. Wasn't always the case. Now people got more over their feelings than fact in selective capacity. But the romanticism is real. I mean, that's how we look at a lot of things. We look at it, how we felt about it. And sometimes we are right. We can definitely make a strong case in our arguments about some things. I will say this. There is more moral decay. It has definitely gone down now. There are things that aren't romanticized that there is a sense that there is a certain type of vibe that is definitely divisive. So some things you can understand what people romanticize, some things you kind of like look at it sideways. It all depends on which way you're coming at it, but it's definitely something that you know uh, is there. But what have you been guilty of romanticism? What made you? We talk about romanticism. What are you guilty of doing? And most people I always say it's music, sports, entertainment. It's got some more, and I think culture. They always act like people were more better, even though I would beg to differ. I would beg to differ because my people who grew up doing Jim Crowism and stuff, there was nothing romanticized about being separate and the obvious blatant racism, etc., etc. So, but we like to see what people say as far as romanticism. Please hit like, subscribe, welcome thoughts, comments, and I do respond. Thank you. Wash your hands. Keep your mind clear. Watch out for another. Share it if you like. Stay safe, stay blessed, stay well, stay free of my peace.